For a little bit of context, we'll start off with the back of my house. Behind me is east. So one of the main things that we did was actually set up this whole thing facing east so that the chickens would get morning sun, which would kind of start their day. And it's actually worked out that they still lay eggs. They're a little bit slower in the winter, but they still lay eggs in the winter. And since it's facing the east, when it's midday sun and after that, we have this mulberry tree that gives them plenty of shade. And then right around mid-April through May, they get nothing but millions and millions of mulberries to supplement their diet. So for initial setup, this is about the best that we could do. We still have our original chicken coop and run, and we have raised our younger chickens in there, especially this year. We had another 15 chickens that we raised inside of here. We started in March. We still have some. This is where we store all of our containers now, but we have that little heater in there, so when we have little babies, they can stay warm when it gets too cold in the early spring. So our chicken coop is actually doubling as a storage device here. You get to put all of our, well, there's a spider web. So we walk through the spider web. We're actually going to add another rack because we're obviously pretty full here. But this kind of helps us sort and maintain things. And we made it out of reclaimed oak boards, which was unnecessarily expensive. I think one thing that I would like to do, like to have done, is save the money and just use plywood. And maybe we could have used some of these oak boards to make interesting frames, maybe do a little bit of art, that kind of thing. But overall, it kind of helps, gives it that rustic feel. We got more oak boards leaning against it, and then we have kind of a little seating area back there. And then we just use a single pitch roof, and that the construction wasn't too bad. And you can see it's about a foot off the ground. We just used little oak or concrete tubes that we filled, and that gets it off the ground. So any debris that falls through the cracks of the floor kind of go in there, and there's not a kind of a sticking point in there. So as we go in, the door itself is decently easy to operate. It's something that I had made. So it's just like that. And it opens super wide. Hi birdies. How you doing? You guys laying eggs? Yep. Chickens are happy to see me. How you guys doing? So you can see they're actually in the spots where they lay eggs. We don't need to have separate nesting boxes. You just kind of pick a corner and rotate through. How you doing? You gonna lay an egg? Okay, Lucy bird. So this is I don't know, it's a decent size. It would be too small if they all slept in here, but they actually sleep wherever they want. They'll sleep outside on top of straw bales. And we ended up putting a couple of these little fireballs, just as kind of extra protection. I don't know if it's, I've seen videos and they seem pretty cool for whatever, 15-20 bucks a piece, a little bit of extra insurance. As you can see, it is a chicken coop. It's got straw and poop and spider webs everywhere. Oh, what about you? Nobody wants any pettings? Show you. So they pile them up. We just got to come through and take them out as often as we can because they'll break. It's been a couple of days and one of the eggs have broken, which kind of makes everything messy. So it looks like we have everybody coming in here. So hopefully you can still hear me, but this water right here has a plug. Hopefully you can see. So we fill that up, we plug it into there, and that runs to the house, but that keeps all this water unfrozen during the winter. Oh, I just got a chicken out. Hold on. Okay, that worked out all right. I was able to snatch them up real quick. And look at these crazy birdies. Yeah, it is dangerous somewhat to video camera and have your chicken snack on grass. All right, you guys gotta go back. Because catching a chicken in the backyard, food forest, is can be very difficult. Here, scooch, scooch. And I'm just gonna come in with you. Okay, so the chicken run actually works pretty well. Door functions as reported. One of the things we did upgrade this year was this water. So it's got the little beak operated water things there. Kind of latches, use it open, put a hose in there. That will probably freeze over winter, so we might not actually have that full, but it's something we'll figure out this year. We just keep extra ones around, give a couple extra bales of straw, but it's such a large area and you get a lot of shade in the middle of the day that it's a really nice place to be in. Try and walk around so you can get a better idea of how much space you have, because there's calculations on how much space you need for so many birds and whatnot. And I think I don't know, it doesn't really seem like we're at max capacity. It seems like we can get another dozen chickens and be fine. We have about 2 dozen birds right now, so that's 2 dozen eggs a day, and that's much more than we can eat. Gives us a chance to sell a few dozen a week. Hi, birdie. Which actually basically pays for all their food throughout the year, because we keep supplemental food in that big old 5-gallon trash can, the little feeders. And so far, the money that we've earned from selling eggs to our friends has paid for all the food. So it's kind of a cost-free thing for us. And we also we don't have to buy eggs, for one. And because we have eggs, we don't buy a lot of the other protein sources. So as far as, it's not really just about the cost of the eggs, but the availability of having food on hand, so you don't have to go to the grocery store so often. So a lot of our berry trees, including this mulberry, a lot of our fruit trees and berry bushes, they don't just supplement. It's hard to just say, well, it's $50 worth of this or $50 worth of that. If you're eating eggs, berries from your own garden, then you don't go buy all this stuff at the store or go to a restaurant. So the cost savings is actually quite large. The next thing we had to do is, I want to walk you around the perimeter so you can see how we did the fencing and why we have a roof. Hey, excuse me, Lucy. All right. This latch system kind of works all right. Kind of a one-handed thing. There's probably definitely better ways to do it. I actually thought I was going to need to stick this in the ground. But even though there are some larger gaps, we haven't had any pest pressure. We haven't had any animals get in. But everything's kind of stapled down. And then we have this netting on the ceiling of the roof that keeps neighborhood birds out and then our chickens in, because we haven't clipped any of their wings. And what they were doing is they're actually climbing up and then sleeping in that mulberry in the winter a couple of years ago. So to stop them from doing that, we put that netting up, and that's worked pretty well. This spring, however, we are going to have to get this mulberry trimmed, because you can see it's starting to push on the netting itself and pushing it down, so it's harder to just walk in there. So a lot of that stuff right there is going to have to go away. I don't mind if it extends a little bit more. But it can definitely be trimmed at the lower levels here, and then we'll probably actually top it so it can bush out a little bit more. Hi, birdies. What you doing? What you doing? You want some? Creeping Charlie? Is that your favorite? Oh, jeez. There's more Creeping Charlie there's enough Creeping Charlie for everybody. You know one? You know one too? You know one? Grandma. Grandma. Oh, look at you. You already had one. You already had one. You want another one? You want one? Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez. Okay, so back to the fencing. So we have a pathway. We have cherry trees and all these other things. We have gooseberries and apple trees on the side. We try to keep this pathway pretty open. We have this fencing that was 6 foot tall. We brought it down to 5 foot, and then we actually brought it down under here. So up to here, there's actually fencing. Because we're hoping that any burrowing animal would get to this fence and they'd probably just start right here. And so we brought it out a little bit. I haven't seen any burrowing animals, but it seemed like a cool idea. We now have plants, honeysuckle, and this feller, I always forget what it's called, Creeping Charlie, and then build up from the animals, pinning that fencing down. So it's become part of the edge, and it kind of gives us further down the road, we might add different flowers and bushes and walnut trees, things like that. But other than the T-posts, we just had to rent a larger pull-behind auger to get these down below about 3 foot below the frost line. And then we just did the dry pour concrete method and got those stuck in place. So those are super sturdy, and these are those oak boards. And all this stuff is zip tied. And then you can see just how we constructed it. We added that one, and then this post, and then to create the tension, we then used the T-posts. We actually stood up on a ladder, put these down, and then we pulled it as far as we could, and then we hammered it down into the ground. So that added whatever tension we could. Still not the most sturdy, I suppose. I guess you could do some sort of tightening on there, but it worked perfectly fine for us. Okay, so to kind of recap, the orientation of the building, great. The construction of the coop, pretty basic. Make some walls out of plywood, frame it with 2x4s, do simple angle brackets or braces, however you want to do it. Do sheet shingles for the roof, screw everything together with the same Torx bit. Pretty simple, pretty easy. I think raising it off the ground is pretty cool because we can open that door. We have a board that sits in there. We can remove that and we can rake everything out into wheelbarrows. Perhaps it could be a bit higher. If the surface was a little bit higher, it'd be easier for us to get it into the wheelbarrows that we now use. Also, it'd be nice to have a step. We have a couple of cinder blocks right now. Maybe that's not the best. Now we just open the door all the way and get into the coop, minus a video camera. That way the chickens don't have a chance to run out and escape and run around the neighborhood. Other than that, the door's pretty good. I might add a tensioner, like an angle tensioner, actually right where my hand is, to bring the drooping outside, non-hinge side up. That would make it easier to open. Other than that, the size is good. Maybe we could have done a better job of pruning the mulberry tree before doing all this. But this is the first year it's really given us a problem. It's been 2 years. Other than that, I'm kind of just curious to see what you, the viewers, think about our setup, how your setup might be different. Any tips or tricks that you have. And also, if you're thinking about getting chickens, if this seems like too much or seems like too little, I'm kind of curious to hear what you say, because we kind of making it up as we go along. We started with that little Rural King chicken coop for $200, and we kind of just expanded from there. And I don't know, but overall we're in the middle of a medium-sized city, and we have neighbors. And now that we don't have a rooster, we don't have any noise problems, and we also don't have any fertile egg problems. So a lot of our friends kind of get weirded out when they see a fertilized egg. So now they'll be clean and pure and fresh and all that. So I guess I'll just leave you with a thank you and a lasting shot of the chickens. All right, thanks. Bye. Also, just to let you know, sometimes I have to close the door and then put this little step in the way so I can then open the door and see and grab the rest of my eggs.